What does it really mean when a woman lives without a man? Does it mean she failed? Does it mean she wasn't good enough? Or could it mean she's choosing herself for once? Can a woman live a full, rich, meaningful life without romantic attachment? Can she wake up in the morning, smile at her reflection, and know she is enough without waiting for validation from a man? They say behind every successful man, there is a woman. But what do they say about a woman who stands alone? Is she broken, or is she simply whole in ways they can't understand? Today, we ask a question that society rarely answers with honesty. If a woman lives without a man, what does it really mean? Is she weak? Is she bitter? Or is she finally free? Welcome to Brain Vital Channel. If you're new here, we're so glad you found us. This is your go-to spot for easy, powerful tips to grow stronger, smarter, and succeed in life. Tired of being pushed around? Want to feel unstoppable and in control? Ready to discover the game-changing secrets that can take you to the next level? Smash that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell, so you're always in the loop when we drop new videos. This isn't just fun, it's about unlocking your true power. You have a choice. Stay where you are or step up and become the best version of yourself. Now let's continue. When people see a woman walking alone, dining alone, or living alone, they whisper, "She must be lonely." But why is solitude always mistaken for sadness? We live in a world where being alone is often seen as something to be ashamed of. But the truth is solitude is not the same as loneliness. Some women choose to be alone so they can heal, so they can find themselves, so they can grow without distraction. Loneliness is not about the absence of people, it's about the absence of peace. And some women have found more peace in their own company than in toxic relationships. So before you say, "She must be lonely," ask yourself, what if she's just finally free? We rarely say this about men, but for women, it's different. The moment she's single, people begin to assume she couldn't keep a man. But must every woman's story be tied to who she managed to keep? This belief comes from a society that judges a woman's worth by her ability to be wanted, as if her success is measured not by her dreams, her strength, or her character, but by whether or not a man decided to stay. But here's the truth. Some men are not meant to be kept. Some women walked away from pain, manipulation, disrespect, or neglect. And that's not failure, that's courage. So instead of asking, why couldn't you keep him? Ask, why should she have stayed? From fairy tales to family pressure, we're told, a woman is not whole until she has a man by her side. But let's pause and ask, what if a woman was never half to begin with? The idea that a woman needs a man to be complete is deeply rooted in cultural conditioning. From childhood, girls are fed stories where happiest ending is always about a prince. But real life is not a fairy tale, and a woman is not a puzzle missing pieces. She is already complete, whole, capable, enough. Relationships can bring joy, yes, but they are not the only source of happiness or fulfillment. A man can compliment a woman, but he cannot complete her, because she was never created lacking in the first place. These beliefs didn't just appear overnight. They were passed down through generations through media, movies, family traditions, and outdated expectations. We have been taught to see a woman's independence as strange, to see her silence as sadness, to see her boundaries as bitterness. But we must unlearn these things, because every time we label a woman for standing alone, we ignore the strength it takes to do so. So the real challenge is not for the woman to prove her worth. It is for society to unlearn its bias. The reality behind independent women is that some women choose peace over problems. At the heart of many independent women's decision to live without a partner is a deep, conscious choice for peace. Often, women are faced with difficult relationships, toxic environments, or situations where emotional turmoil outweighs any potential benefits. The decision to live alone is not a retreat, but rather a pursuit of peace and personal well-being. Choosing peace isn't about rejecting love or companionship. It's about finding stability and emotional balance. It's a woman saying, "I deserve to feel at ease with myself and my surroundings." Many women have experienced relationships or situations that drain them emotionally, physically, and mentally. The peace they now choose is not a symbol of weakness, but of strength. It's about refusing to settle for anything less than genuine peace and happiness. Imagine a woman who has been in toxic relationships, constantly trying to fix things for the sake of keeping the peace. But after years of emotional exhaustion, she finally realizes that true peace starts from within. So, she decides to focus on herself, finding solace in her solitude and learning that her worth is not defined by the chaos she has endured. There's a powerful, healing process that happens when a woman steps away from the noise of external expectations and starts focusing inward. The absence of a romantic partner often provides a space for deep emotional healing and recovery. Healing from past traumas, whether from relationships, loss, or abuse, is a journey that cannot be rushed or ignored. Healing is personal and not linear. Some women need time to process their experiences, rebuild their confidence, and regain trust either in themselves or others. Choosing to live without a man for a time doesn't mean shutting out love forever. It means recognizing that healing is necessary before jumping into new commitments. Think of a woman who, after a painful breakup, chooses to live alone for a while. During this period, she discovers parts of herself she forgot existed: her hobbies, her dreams, and even her inner strength. In her solitude, she heals, building herself up brick by brick until she's ready to love again, not from a place of need, but from a place of wholeness. There is also a segment of women who are not running from love or healing, but are intentionally building their futures, focusing on their personal growth and success. They are entrepreneurs, students, or career-driven individuals who have dedicated themselves to their passions and goals. Personal growth isn't limited to professional success. It can also include emotional maturity, self-discovery, and spiritual development. Many women see this phase of life as an opportunity to create a foundation for themselves. Whether it's gaining new skills, pursuing higher education, or starting a business, they are laying down the bricks of their future. Imagine a woman who, after years of depending on others, decides to take charge of her life. She starts a business, goes back to school, or travels the world, discovering the passions that she never had time for before. She's building herself, creating a life that she can be proud of, not because she's avoiding a partner, but because she knows that her personal growth will allow her to be a better version of herself for whoever comes into her life later on. Not every independent woman is focused solely on career or personal development. Some are deeply committed to their families or a higher purpose. These women may choose to dedicate themselves to raising children, supporting loved ones, or contributing to their communities. Their lives are shaped by the mission of nurturing and giving back, and they often find purpose in building a strong family or positive impact in society. Purpose and growth are individual experiences. For some women, nurturing their children or caring for others is the most meaningful aspect of their lives. For others, this purpose may come in the form of social justice work, activism, or other forms of contribution that transcend personal gain. Raising children, particularly without a partner, is a monumental responsibility, but for some, it is a calling. These women take pride in their role as providers, teachers, and nurturers, building their families and legacies on their own terms. Picture a single mother who works tirelessly to provide her children with opportunities she never had. Her purpose is clear: to raise strong, happy, and confident individuals. Every decision she makes revolves around her children's well-being, education, and emotional health. She doesn't need a partner to validate her role as a mother. She knows that her dedication is enough. Living without a man, for many women, doesn't mean they are incomplete. It's often the complete opposite. It's a journey of rediscovering themselves, building their strength, and finding their inner peace. These women are not waiting for someone to save them, but instead, they are actively shaping their lives with purpose, love, and resilience. Choosing to live independently can be empowering. It gives them the freedom to heal, grow, and define their own worth outside the expectations of society. This is the reality behind independent women. Their lives are not defined by who they are with, but by who they are becoming. Does living without a partner make a woman less complete, or is it a journey toward a better version of herself? What do we really mean when we say a woman is independent? Is it just about being alone, or is it about strength, healing, and growth? How can we, as a society, redefine what it means to live a fulfilling life without the pressure of a romantic relationship? There's something powerful, something deeply sacred about a woman who learns to stand on her own. When she wakes up every day knowing that no one is coming to rescue her, she finds strength in her own two hands. She learns how to fight her battles, dry her tears, and still show up with grace. She becomes her own cheerleader, her own shoulder to lean on, her own rock when the world becomes too heavy. Ask yourself, how many women do we overlook every day simply because they're not depending on anyone else? When a woman becomes her own support system, it's not pride, it's survival. And slowly it becomes power. Without a man to pour into, she finally turns inward. She begins to see the parts of herself she once neglected, the beauty in her flaws, the strength in her softness, the glow in her scars. She no longer needs someone to tell her she is enough because she tells herself that every single day. This kind of self-love isn't loud. It's not boastful. It's quiet, gentle, and deeply healing. And that's the kind of love that no man, no heartbreak, and no storm can ever take away. When a woman has lived without a man and survived, it changes her. She no longer accepts anything less than respect. She no longer entertains relationships that drain her peace. She knows her worth, not in arrogance, but in wisdom. She's no longer afraid to say no, because she has seen what it costs to say yes to the wrong things. A woman without a man doesn't lack anything, but she now lacks the patience to be mistreated. She sets boundaries, not because she's hard, but because she's learned that peace is a luxury, and protecting it is her responsibility. Society often tells a woman, success is being a wife. Success is being chosen. Success is being needed. But when a woman lives without a man, she starts asking bigger questions. What if success means healing from what broke me? What if success means raising my children in peace? What if success means waking up happy, with or without a partner? She finds purpose in her work, her passions, her friendships, her service to others. She stops living to be admired and starts living to be fulfilled. Success no longer wears the dress society tailored for her. She stitches her own story with boldness, with beauty, and with no apologies. So, what does it really mean when a woman lives without a man? It means she's not defined by someone else's presence, but by her own perseverance. It means she's walking in wholeness, not waiting for completion. And that, my friend, is a kind of power the world still doesn't fully understand. But one day, maybe it will. Let me tell you a little about a woman who chose to live without a man and how it shaped her life. There was once a woman named Amara. Not the kind of woman that people wrote headlines about, but the kind whose quiet strength could shake mountains if only the world paid attention. Amara was 32. She lived in a modest apartment, ran her own tailoring business, and raised her niece after her sister passed away. From the outside, many assumed her life was incomplete. She's not married. She must be lonely. She must be difficult to live with. But nobody really asked Amara how she felt. Nobody asked about the night she cried herself to sleep, not because she didn't have a man, but because she remembered the man who once told her she wasn't enough, the one who said she was too ambitious, too opinionated, too strong, the one who left when she refused to shrink. Amara made a choice. She chose not to wait for a man to come and give her value. She chose herself. It wasn't easy. There were days she felt the sting of silence, birthdays without flowers, nights with no one to hold her. But even in the silence, she began to hear her own voice. She discovered who she really was. A woman who could fix her own car when it broke down. A woman who could build a business from scratch. A woman who raised a child with love and wisdom. A woman who prayed, who worked, who laughed loudly, and sometimes cried softly. Amara's strength wasn't loud. It wasn't in fists or shouting. It was in showing up for herself every single day. And when people asked, "Why haven't you settled down yet?" she would smile gently and say, "Because I'm not settling anymore." Her story teaches us something powerful. A woman's life is not on hold because she's not in a relationship. She's not a half waiting to be completed. She is a whole soul growing, glowing, and going forward. Let's slow it down here and talk about what we just heard. Because this story, though fictional, represents so many real women. Society assumed her life had a gap because there was no man. She dealt with loneliness, rejection, and judgment. She had to overcome the belief that her worth came from being chosen by someone. She raised a child, ran a business, and still made time for herself. She didn't just survive, she grew. She became emotionally independent, not bitter, but better. She didn't argue with everyone who judged her. She stayed calm when people questioned her decisions. Her silence was her way of protecting her peace, not a sign of shame or sadness. She found the courage to define happiness on her own terms. She didn't let bitterness speak for her. She let confidence do the talking. Her story was her voice. Her life became her answer. So, the next time you see a woman walking alone, living alone, or even smiling alone, don't pity her. Don't assume she's broken. Ask yourself, could it be that she found something more precious than a partner? Could it be that she found herself? There is a quiet pressure that many women feel, but few ever speak about. It starts with questions that seem innocent at first. So, when are you bringing someone home? You're not getting any younger, you know. Don't you want children before it's too late? These questions come from aunties at weddings, from mothers in the kitchen, from friends who follow the expected path. They may not mean harm, but their words carry the weight of a timeline that says, marry before 30, be a wife before you build. If you haven't found someone by now, something must be wrong. But who set this clock? And what happens to the women who don't follow it? Let's start with family. Families often mean well. They want what they believe is best. But sometimes what they believe is best is based on fear, not faith, on tradition, not truth. They fear that a woman without a man will be lonely. They worry what society will say. They think marriage equals security and that without it, life is uncertain. But let's ask ourselves, what about women who married young and still live in pain? What about the wives who cry silently at night, ignored and unloved? What about the ones who stayed not because they were happy, but because they were expected to? Is that the kind of security we want for our daughters? Society has written an invisible rule book, one that says, graduate, get a job, get married, have kids before 30. If you delay, you're seen as unserious. If you refuse, you're labeled rebellious. If you succeed on your own, they say, she's intimidating, too proud. No man will want her now. But here's the truth they don't often say out loud. Growth takes time. Healing takes time. Finding yourself takes time. And sometimes, love is meant to come after you've learned to love yourself first. Why must a woman rush into marriage just to satisfy a deadline someone else wrote? Let's speak directly to the question many are too afraid to ask. Does being unmarried mean being incomplete? The answer is simple. No. A woman's worth is not in her last name, not in the size of the ring on her finger, not in whether someone else has chosen her. Her worth is in who she is when no one is looking. It's in her heart, her wisdom, her strength, her peace. Being single is not a punishment, and marriage is not a prize for perfection. Some women are in a season of preparation. Some are healing from the past. Some are focused on their goals. And some simply choose a different path. And that's okay. Let's stop asking women, when will you marry? And start asking them, are you happy? Are you growing? Are you safe? Are you at peace? So the next time you see a woman who walks alone, don't assume she's broken or bitter. Maybe she's simply walking in strength, at her own pace, on her own terms. And that is something to respect. There's something the world often forgets. That wholeness doesn't come from who we are with. It comes from who we are becoming. Let's say this clearly. No human being can complete another. We've been told stories where a woman finds her other half, like she was born incomplete, like her soul was waiting for someone else to arrive before it could feel full. But the truth is, you were never half. You were always whole, maybe bruised, maybe healing, but always enough. Have you ever paused and asked yourself, what if everything I've been searching for is already within me? A woman without a man is not empty, she is involving. There is a difference between loneliness and growth. There is a difference between being alone and being at peace. When a woman chooses to live without a man by choice, by loss, or by life's seasons, it does not mean she is broken. It often means she's building. She is learning how to trust her own voice, how to survive without needing validation, how to look in the mirror and not feel the urge to ask, am I enough? Because she knows. She is not empty. She is becoming. What if the season of solitude is not punishment, but preparation? Love is beautiful, but not in definition of value. Yes, love is beautiful. Companionship is sacred. Being seen, heard, touched, and held is a powerful gift. But hear this truth gently. Love should add to your life, not define it. You are not valuable because someone loves you. You are valuable even if no one says they do. Because your worth is not given by people, it is written into your existence. Let this sink in. A crown is still a crown, whether or not it sits on a queen. So when people ask, why is she still single? Maybe the answer is, because she's still whole. You are not waiting to be completed. You are waiting to be understood. If you're a woman walking this journey alone, let this be your reminder. You are not late. You are not lost. And you are not lacking. You are exactly where you're meant to be, becoming everything you were meant to become. We live in a world that moves fast, where opinions are loud and assumptions come easy. But sometimes we need to pause. Sometimes we need to ask ourselves, what if I've been looking at this wrong the whole time? She's alone, so she must be unhappy. No husband? She must not be a real woman. These are the kind of thoughts many people have been taught to believe without even realizing it. But have we ever taken the time to ask, what is the full story behind her silence? Her solitude? Her smile? Maybe she's not broken. Maybe she's building. Maybe she's not bitter. Maybe she's better than she's ever been. Maybe she's not alone. Maybe she's surrounded by peace. Challenge your thoughts. Question your lens. Rethink what you call lack. Because sometimes the absence of one thing is the presence of everything else. Every woman's journey is different. Some will marry young and thrive. Some will marry later and shine. Some may never marry and still live the most fulfilled, beautiful, and impactful lives. And guess what? All of them are valid. It's not your place to ask, why is she still single? Instead, ask, how is she doing, really? Let's be people who support, not shame. Let's build communities where a woman's worth isn't measured by her relationship status, but by her truth, her growth, and her light. Love should be a choice, not a cage. Love is beautiful, but only when it's free. It should be a choice, not a duty. A safe space, not a prison. A joy, not a burden. So, if a woman chooses to live without a man, it does not mean she has failed. It may simply mean she chose peace over pain, healing over hurt, and herself over settling. Let us never forget, the greatest love a woman can give is not always to a man, but to herself. So the next time you see a woman walking alone, don't assume she's missing something. She may have found everything. Let's stop judging. Let's start listening. Let's let women live, and let them live fully, because at the end of the day, love is a gift, not a chain. And freedom is not the absence of love, but the presence of choice. Now, think about this. Who told you that a woman's value begins where a man enters her life? Why do we call it loneliness when a woman chooses peace? What if her silence is not sadness, but strength? Is love still love if it costs her freedom? Can a woman live without a man and still live a full life? So, what does it really mean when a woman lives without a man? It means she's not afraid to grow on her own. It means she's choosing peace over pressure. It means she's not waiting to be chosen because she already chose herself. Being without a man doesn't make her less of a woman. It doesn't make her broken or bitter or empty. It means she's living life on her own terms. And that's something to be proud of. Whether she's walking alone for a season or for a lifetime, she's still walking with purpose, still rising with strength, still breathing with gratitude, still loving just differently. To every woman watching this, you are enough, you are worthy, and you don't need to prove your value to anyone. If love comes, let it come. But never forget you were complete before it ever arrived. And if you're living without a man today, maybe it just means you're finally learning to live fully. As you, Yellowheart. Thank you so much for watching. If this touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel for more real, honest, and healing conversations like this, Until next time, walk tall, live free, and never be ashamed of your journey.